My name is Christopher Thomas. I graduated from Beaver College, then Beaver College in 1994 with a degree in painting, which was my major, and printmaking, a minor. So both of those, all through my time here, were running parallel. In hindsight, especially now, the way that studying studio art for me was most beneficial, I think, had a lot to do with that kind of tight-knit community, that there were a handful of particularly excellent faculty who I could work with, and also the facilities were so available and conducive, and I felt very strongly this balance between having the space to work and the encouragement to work. So that sense of studio focus, early on as a student was really in place through the coursework, but then also the availability of particularly the print shop and the painting studio for me. But there was always this equal portion too of getting really sort of familiar with things happening in Philadelphia, going to the museums, and just sort of a broader sense through art history classes. Along with probably, Arcadia, obviously has a strong history of study abroad opportunities, which I was lucky enough to partake in my junior year to go to the Glasgow School of Art. So there was this really kind of terrific, intense experience in those 4 years of being, very hard at work here in the studios, but then also having these opportunities to be moving outward at the same time. And as an artist, how vital that was to be exposed to such good works. And to be able to practice painting in different environments in different countries. For me, working as a painter and a printmaker always sort of overlapped, and to be honest, I rarely, although I'm about to do some relief printing in the next month or so, but for a number of years as a painter primarily, I think printmaking has informed the way I make paintings, mostly in terms of how I think anytime I approach making an image, and the pieces, the drawings that you're talking about in the Commons Gallery, which is part of the Alumni exhibition that I have currently, those are all made with ink and or watercolor on paper, so they're hand-drawn paintings, I suppose, on paper, but they really do have a kind of systematic application, and I think, too, the way that those paintings in particular are coming from photographic imagery. That really, I think, connects to my sense as a printmaker of how an image, any kind of photographically reproduced image, can be broken down into ever more bite-sized pieces. The drawings in that exhibition across the way are primarily bitmapped photographs, so very low-res images, but a way of inspecting an image or dissecting an image for me has always been somehow related to printmaking, where, for example, with multi-plate etchings or even woodcuts, that the notion of sort of dismantling an image into layered information, I think, has always been physically of interest to me, and that's translated into the paintings for sure, for as long as I've been painting, really. Being invited to do an exhibition here, especially as an alum, really gave me pause to think about not only wanting to select the body of work that I could hang to exhibit, but knowing too that I'd be invited here at the end to give a talk about the work to students and the community, especially given the fact that so many of my former professors are going to be in attendance. I mean, I definitely think about that sort of notion of lineage, and thinking as a painter as well. Maybe it comes to mind sitting in this painting studio. I think one of the earliest lessons I sort of subscribed to was this notion of becoming a painter as being a kind of a lifelong endeavor, that sort of trust in. It's why people are called old masters, perhaps, right? I always like to think of that you have that sort of buildup of experience that only lends depth and more, adds a certain understanding to the work that you make through your life. And So certainly that's been on my mind coming here, and the work that's hanging in the Commons Gallery is recent. I mean, it's within the last year, and really representative of what's still kind of cooking in the studio at the moment. But I think the main connection, and I hope to, when I give the public lecture with images later this afternoon, I hope to draw a connection between the work that I was making, not way back when I was a student here necessarily, but even just 5 years ago, where there's still a kind of, I think what really sticks from my time here at Arcadia, this sort of investigation of how an image can be made, where particularly as a painter, I've been, for a long time invested in a kind of representational painting, in particular, painting from observation. So really trying to translate by looking and hand-eye coordination and color mixing, translate a kind of, if not totally objective experience, and certainly sort of a subjectively flavored experience. And I think, as I mentioned a minute ago about printmaking, the way that end point of the image either kind of comes to life or becomes somewhat questioned through the activity of making it, is something that's always persisted. And so, for example, when I was a student here, I was making paintings, by looking at things, still lifes and interiors, this kind of thing. And the work now, at a glance, it's very abstract. It's sort of little fragments of digital, scrap across the page. And yet I think there's still a sense of the sort of photographic involved. I think we can sort of see that in the current paintings. And so in a weird way, I guess the connection I make to what's most recent to what I was doing at my start here is that notion of how an image can be represented, how an image can be very objectively understood by studying it. So for example, studying a still life with, particular lighting, trying to match what you're seeing on a technical level, just over the years has given way more to, questioning how an image can be broken down through other means. So whether it's through photographic distancing or, the images in that show are very, caveman style software application, right? To simply kind of reduce the resolution of those images to kind of get at something of the sort of elemental structure of those photographs. So in a weird way, my paintings have changed somewhat dramatically on the surface over the years, but I think conceptually, there's still a strong connection between what I was doing here as a student to what I'm involved with now. I think for a long time I just questioned how much of maybe it's just my shortcomings as a painter perhaps, but I was always aware of my sort of hand in the making of that image as being really resonant. And this is going to sound maybe like a strange kind of answer, but it sort of disturbed me a little bit. Like I think I was after images that were compelling to look at, images that were, like I said, rooted in this sense of observation, but I didn't want to make images that were sort of about my ability to either paint like a tree really well, you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't the sort of language that I really wanted to work in. And in fact, I really do, all the work that's in the Commons Gallery are based on landscapes to a degree. Images of compost piles and, organic matter is what all those photographs are. And so, there's still like a way, I think, driving me as a painter to get a little bit away of the sort of technical obviousness of reproducing an image and more using painting techniques and even printmaking techniques to take an image that's recognizable and representational of something in particular, but then somehow reduce it, to that sort of more generic language. And to be honest, I think there's just mostly a kind of idea-driven approach in these drawings that, satisfies me to some degree as a painter, that I like the way that the images can be somewhat made outside of my own temperament. It's not just about my looking, there's this sort of filtering going on between me, my selection of the image, and then the drawing through those, either the software or the projection methods and all that kind of thing. And I mean, I'm not alone. I think a lot of painters tend to work in response to photographic imagery. Nowadays, I mean, it's an obviously, it's a logical question to be, asking, I think, as a painter in, in the 21st century, like how you, choose subject matter, how you make images, right, in an age of images. So for me, it was less about, maintaining that straight up copying of what the thing looks like and trying to get at some sort of other way of representing it. I think the best art students, they are able to sort of take an ownership of their education and bring to the table or bring to the studio, themselves and, their sense of self-reflection, their interests in whatever that might be, their stance on religion and politics and, their hobbies. Like, I do think that there's a kind of, first and foremost, a recognition of you as a unique individual, coming to an art studio with a certain unique set of experiences and knowledge that I would trust in, sort of your role becoming then as a student, the expert in tapping into what you can offer to the conversation. And so again, sort of whatever medium one might choose to work in, I do think that those, that sort of sense of self-understanding is, going to kind of cut to the chase. I mean, I think technically any student spending so many hours a week doing drawing is going to improve at drawing. But I think that a sort of sense of engagement with sort of the deeper issues, the sort of interest that maybe you've been compelled to return to over and over again, I feel like there must be a reason for that. And I always encourage students to really dwell on that a bit and really try to formulate those heartfelt concerns and what might become the subject matter for them as artists, way, down the line. I think that's the time where you start really knowing that about yourself.